Hello. Today we'll be jumping into Ezra chapter 5. So let me get that up on screen here. So yesterday we just started the book of Ezra. And what did we see? We saw them starting to rebuild the temple. There was some resistance to the construction of the temple, which was surprising, but apparently it came from the Samaritans, and they were going all out. They were really trying to stop this process from happening. And now we're jumping into chapter 5, where the process of the restoration is going to be resumed. So we left off with Artaxerxes, I think. King Artaxerxes, pretty much saying that, okay, you know what, we're gonna stop this. We're gonna stop the restoration and all that stuff. So we'll see. Let's see how things move forward with them starting up. All right, let's get started here. Oh, and the other thing is, I didn't get a chance to look into with the Urim and Thummim, right? We were talking about that yesterday. I didn't get a chance to look into that. So I was going to put something down into the description if I found any articles or anything, but I didn't get a chance to look. So if you guys get a chance to look, let me know, because that was confusing yesterday.
Then the prophet Haggai and Zechariah the son of Iddo, prophets, prophesied to the Jews who were in Judah and Jerusalem in the name of the God of Israel who was over them. So Zerubbabel the son of Shealtiel and Jeshua the son of Jozadak rose up and began to build the house of God which is in Jerusalem. And the prophets of God were with them, helping them.
So the prophet Haggai and Zechariah prophesied to the Jews who were in Judah and Jerusalem in the name of God, in the name of the God of Israel who was over them. So Zerubbabel the son of Shealtiel and Jeshua the son of Jozadak rose up and began to build the house of God which is in Jerusalem. What did they prophesy? They prophesied that they would build it, and therefore they got up and started to build it? Probably. Let's see what this Bible's got to say. Chapter 5, verse 1. Haggai, who wrote the Old Testament book that bears his name, began his ministry in August 520 BC. Zechariah, the prophet, who also wrote an Old Testament book, began his prophetic ministry in October or November of the same year. That's crazy. We have the exact month. Wow. The Jews had been forced to stop working on the temple. Now, years later, God revived his work. He instructed his prophets to prophesy, and he expected his people to respond in faith and action. The phrase, "who was over them," is a reminder of the sovereignty of God. No king other than the Lord himself commanded his people. Zerubbabel, the civil governor, and Jeshua, also known as Joshua, the high priest, led the people once again in rebuilding the temple. The prophets Haggai and Zechariah joined in this call to action. When the temple rebuilding resumed... Oh, wait, we didn't get to that, so let's just keep reading.
And the prophets of God were with them, helping them. At the same time, Tattenai, the governor of the region beyond the river, and Shethar-Baznai and their companions came to them and spoke thus to them.
Who has commanded you to build this temple and finish this wall?
Then, accordingly, we told them the names of the men who were constructing this building. But the eye of their God was upon the elders of the Jews, so that they could not make them cease till a report could go to Darius.
So I want to see what's going to happen now, right? Because they're really not supposed to be building, right? That was the decree. But God said, start building. So I want to see what's going to happen now.
Then a written answer was returned concerning this matter. This is a copy of the letter that Tattenai sent.
So Tattenai is the governor of the region. So I'm assuming he is going to be opposed to the building of the temple. We'll see.
The governor.
Well, it depends on who put him into power, right?
Of the region beyond the river, and Shethar-boznai and his companions, the Persians who were in the region beyond the river, to Darius the king. They sent a letter to him, in which was written thus:
To Darius the king, all peace. Let it be known to the king that we went into the province of Judea, to the temple of the great God, which is being built with heavy stones, and timber is being laid in the walls. And this work goes on diligently and prospers in their hands. Then we asked those elders, and spoke thus to them: Who commanded you to build this temple and to finish these walls? We also asked them their names to inform you, that we might write the names of the men who were chief among them. And thus they returned us an answer, saying, We are the servants of the God of heaven and earth, and we are rebuilding the temple that was built many years ago, which a great king of Israel built and completed. But because our fathers provoked the God of heaven to wrath, he gave them into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, the Chaldean, who destroyed this temple and carried the people away to Babylon. However, in the first year of Cyrus, king of Babylon, King Cyrus issued a decree to build this house of God. Also, the gold and silver articles of the house of God, which Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the temple that was in Jerusalem and carried into the temple of Babylon, those King Cyrus took from the temple of Babylon, and they were given to one named Sheshbazzar, who he had made governor.
So is this years later? Years later has to be. Is King Darius the king, same place of King Cyrus? And is... Oh, come on. The governor of the region, right? Tattenai. Is he governor in the same place that Sheshbazzar was? Let's look it up. King Darius. Was a Persian ruler, and Cyrus was the king of Persia as well. So yeah. So it looks like their time has passed and we're in a new king.
Given to one named Sheshbazzar, who he...
So I'm assuming Sheshbazzar was the same governor the governor of the same area that the other guy was with the T. What was his name? You know his name. The guy with... Well, I can go back. Fine. Where is it? Tet something, right? Where is it? Was it further back? Tattenai.
Given to one named Sheshbazzar, who he had made governor. And he said to him, Take these articles, go, carry them to the temple site that is in Jerusalem,
and let the house of God be rebuilt on its former site. Then the same Sheshbazzar came and laid the foundation of the house of God, which is in Jerusalem. But from that time, even until now, it has been under construction, and it is not finished. Now therefore, if it seems good to the king, let a search be made in the king's treasure house, which is there in Babylon, whether it is so, that a decree was issued by King Cyrus to build this house of God at Jerusalem, and let the king send us his pleasure concerning this matter.
Take these articles, go, carry them to the temple site that is in Jerusalem, and let the house of God be rebuilt on its former site. So that's what and they were given to one named Sheshbazzar, whom he had made governor, and he said to him. So that's what this previous governor said. Take these articles, go, carry them to the temple site that is in Jerusalem, and let the house of God be rebuilt on its former site. No, this is what King Cyrus told Sheshbazzar. Then the same Sheshbazzar came and laid the foundation of the house of God, which is in Jerusalem. But from that time, even until now, it has been under construction, and it is not finished. Now, therefore, if it seems good to the king, let a search be made in the king's treasure house, which is there in Babylon, whether it is so that a decree was issued by King Cyrus to build this house of God at Jerusalem, and let the king send his pleasure concerning this matter. I want to look this up too. Artaxerxes. King of Persia. Okay, so we went from Cyrus to Artaxerxes to Darius. And I believe that's probably the order, right? Let's look it up. Oh, come on. Cyrus. Okay, there we go. Artaxerxes, Darius. Is that big enough? Can you guys see that? First year of Darius, first year of Cyrus, second year of Cyrus, third year of Cyrus. So Darius was first? Darius was during when Nebuchadnezzar reigned in Babylon? So we have Darius, Xerxes. Oh, there's multiple Darius. That's right. So we have Darius, Artaxerxes, Darius. What about and Cyrus? So Cyrus kicked it all off but before that, so including Nebuchadnezzar, was this the same Nebuchadnezzar? Is Nebuchadnezzar the third? Man, there's a lot of seconds and thirds and whatnot. So I don't know which. We can look it up, I guess. I guess type Ezra. Timeline of Ezra. I mean, we are not getting the seconds and thirds here, but Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon conquers Judah in 586. Temple construction begins. Oh, wait, before that. Cyrus of Persia decrees return of the Jews in 538. Temple construction begins in 535. Darius the First becomes king of Persia in 521. Haggai and Zechariah begin prophetic ministry in 520. The temple, which is what we're looking into this right now. Temple completed in 515. Artaxerxes the First becomes king of Persia in 464. So what we were reading earlier, I'm confused. Yesterday, with the resistance to the temple, we were reading that now when the copy of King Artaxerxes' letter was read before the Rehum Shimshai the scribe and their companies, they went up in haste to Jerusalem against the Jews, and by force of arms made them cease. Right? So that whole letter and then stopping the temple was under King Artaxerxes, but according to this, the temple was completed before Artaxerxes became the king. So how does that work? How does that work? Reformation of the people. Where's the temple? Esther, Xerxes, temple foundation, opposition, determination, completion. All within Cyrus and Darius. Then I do not get this. If everybody's saying Artaxerxes was after the completion of the temple, so why is it talking about here? Let me pull it up in the text. 4:23. We can pull that up. Ezra 4:23. Now, when the copy of King Artaxerxes' letter was read before Rehum, Shimshai, the scribe, and their companies, they went up in haste to Jerusalem against the Jews, and by force of arms made them cease. Made them cease what? Building the temple. Because that's what they were doing. Let's just look up Ezra 4. Rebuilding of Jerusalem oppressed. In the reign of Ahasuerus, in the beginning of his reign, they wrote an accusation against the inhabitants of Judah and Jerusalem. In the days of Artaxerxes also, Bishlam, Mithredath, Tabel, and the rest of their companions wrote to Artaxerxes, king of Persia, and the letter was written in Aramaic script and translated into the Aramaic script. Rehum, the commander, and Shimshai, the scribe, wrote a letter against Jerusalem to King Artaxerxes in this fashion. From Rehum, the commander, Shimshai, the scribe, and the rest of their companions, representatives of the Danites, the Apharsathites, the Tarpelites, the people of Persia, and Erech, and Babylon, and Shushan, and the Dehavites, and the Elamites, and the rest of the nations whom the great and noble Osnapper took captive, and settled in the cities of Samaria, and the remainder beyond the river, and so forth. This is a copy of the letter that they sent him. To the King Artaxerxes, from your servants, the men of the region beyond the river, and so forth. Let it be known to the king that the Jews who came up from you have come to us at Jerusalem, and are building the rebellious and evil city, and are finishing its walls and repairing the foundations. Let it now be known to the king that if this city is built and the walls completed, they will not pay tax, tribute, or custom, and the king's treasury will be diminished. Okay, so maybe this is how it goes. Right here, they're talking about the city. So maybe the temple was built first. That was where the priority was kept. And after the temple was completed, they started building up Jerusalem. And that is when King Artaxerxes of Persia was reigning. So I guess we'll find out further as we continue to read. We continue to see the temple completely built, and then we start building of Jerusalem. So we'll find that out as we keep on going. I'm going to assume.
And Sheshbazzar, who he had made governor, and he said to him, "Take these articles, go, carry them to the temple site that is in Jerusalem,
and let the house of God be rebuilt on its former site." Then the same Sheshbazzar came and laid the foundation of the house of God, which is in Jerusalem. But from that time, even until now, it has been under construction. and it is not finished. Now therefore, if it seems good to the king, let a search be made in the king's treasure house.
That's odd they added Artaxerxes
in Babylon.
in before all this. Like, why would they talk about a king that wasn't king yet before, you know? And the section is entitled Resistance. The chapter subheading is entitled Resistance to the Building of the Temple. So that is odd. If they're talking about the city. Yeah, why Artaxerxes? Let me see if my Bible has anything to say about that. Well, I mean, I know we said we'll keep on going, but I'm just curious. The Persian king Artaxerxes ordered the Jewish people to cease their work on the temple. However, he left open the possibility of a future change in policy. Years later, the request of Nehemiah, the decision was reviewed. Okay, so they're saying if Artaxerxes seized the temple, building of the temple. Let me look this up. Artaxerxes. Why am I putting a Z? Artaxerxes. Artaxerxes played a key role in the building of the temple and the wall of Jerusalem. While the Israelites worked on repairs, they faced great opposition from people in the surrounding lands. This adversity continued even to King Artaxerxes' reign. At the time, dissenters by the names of Bisham, Mithridath, and Tabeel wrote a letter to Artaxerxes, which we saw. Artaxerxes immediately ordered the repairs to be halted and allowed the dissenters to send their forces to Jerusalem to stop the work. However, then why am I seeing this? Artaxerxes becomes king of Persia. Temple completed before that. 515 BC, temple completed. 464 BC, Artaxerxes becomes king. And this is Artaxerxes the first. So Artaxerxes had to have been king prior. Unless, the king Artaxerxes, he was king at this point. So this can't be correct if it's talking about the temple. And I'm assuming it's talking about the temple because it's I mean, that would make sense. I mean, in the letter it's only talking about the city. But why would they include it prior to the temple being built in chapter 4? You know? Artaxerxes. Okay, let's see. Kings of Persia. Kings of Persia. Timeline. Artaxerxes. Darius. Who was the other king? I don't know. Ancient Persian rulers. Modern Iran. Okay, Cyrus. Cyrus the Great. What was this saying? This was saying temple was completed in 515. Is that accurate? So in Darius, the temple was completed. Yet Artaxerxes was after that. How does this work? Temple, Jerusalem. Oh my gosh, I'm spelling all messed up. Jerusalem. Okay. The kings of Ezra. Cyrus. Okay. Why different names? issued the decree to build the temple, stopped the work of the temple, Artaxerxes, but his actual name was Gomates. Artaxerxes. Gomates. Portrayal in the book of Ezra and Nehemiah. I mean, I know this is Wikipedia. They're referencing Ezra 7. Rebuilding the temple, Cyrus the Great, okay. Yeah, what is going on here? Yeah, there's definitely something messed up. What is up with this timeline? It's making absolutely no sense. Darius the Great, Cyrus, Artaxerxes is after the fact. Zerubbabel returns and builds the temple. So how is Artaxerxes, while king, preventing the temple being built when he was king after the temple was completed? This doesn't make any sense. King of Persia. How did Artaxerxes stop temple construction? Who is the Artaxerxes from Ezra 4 that stopped the building of the temple? Yeah, that's what I want to know. The book of Ezra, chapter 4, tells us that Artaxerxes stopped the work of the temple and that it remained unfinished until the second year of Darius. Who is this Artaxerxes? He's probably not the same Artaxerxes from Ezra 7, since the latter reigned after Darius, as is evident from the order of the chapters. See also Ezra 6:14, which lumps together Cyrus, Darius, and Artaxerxes. Are we dealing here with two different kings, each named Artaxerxes, or are they the same person? Interestingly, Wikipedia, the Wikipedia article on Ezra, gives a slightly different Persian king list that does Cook in the Persian Empire, which I generally use for reference. However, the differences involve omission of kings who only reigned briefly and are not important for our purposes. Cambyses was the son of Cyrus the Great, and therefore lived before Darius and Artaxerxes. There were 3 kings known as Darius and 4 known as Artaxerxes. Artaxerxes reigned 465 to 424, and Darius II reigned 423 to 404. That's not answering my question. Who is Artaxerxes of Ezra 7? No, I need to know who's Artaxerxes of Ezra 4. Ezra 7 is easy. But it looks like here we're going to talk about Ezra 4, so maybe Ezra 7 7 references in Ezra 7:7 reference is made to Ezra's arrival in Jerusalem the 7th year of King Artaxerxes, and is as depicted earlier in the chapter. Now, after these things, in the reign of Artaxerxes, king of Persia, Ezra 7:6, went up from Babylon to Jerusalem in the 7th year of Artaxerxes the king. He came to Jerusalem in the 5th month, which was the 7th year of the king. that this should be Artaxerxes the first is clear from the sequence in Ezra 4, which moves from Xerxes to Artaxerxes. But we talked about Artaxerxes in Ezra 4. One second, my phone's going off. I gotta put it on. All right, there we go. All right. The book Nehemiah is closely related to Ezra, and of course, and Nehemiah's own mission to Jerusalem dates from the 20th year of Artaxerxes I. What is the problem? The problem is that on this simple reading, when Nehemiah arrives, there is no sign of Ezra activity. Yeah, okay, see, we didn't even get there yet in the text. We are talking about even before all this. Okay, here. It is safe to say that Van Hoonaker's view, while it does not lack support, is most definitely a minority view today, according to H.G.M. Williamson. Their arguments are not at all convincing, and they have rightly been rejected by the overwhelming majority. Okay, see, I've learned that you can't even trust the overwhelming majority. You got to look into stuff yourself, right? Just because everybody's on the same, believe in the same thing doesn't mean it's correct. You should look into yourself and find out for yourself. In his commentary, see further reading below, he lists the main reasons for opting for the 458 date associated with the reign of Artaxerxes I, beyond the simple fact that this is the most natural reading of Ezra 4-7. The sources underlying Ezra and Nehemiah were combined early and without regard to strict chronological ordering. This is widely agreed. The mutual non-mention of Ezra/Nehemiah is not unusual for contemporaries in the biblical record, and in any case, they were interested in different things. The character of various related reforms by Ezra and Nehemiah are best explained by the traditional ordering. And to this, Blenkinsop's observation, dealt with elsewhere by Williamson, can be added. When handling priestly names, great care is needed. The practice of naming boys after grandfathers in successive generations, which was the case here, can lead to real confusion. Yep. And with kings as well, as we had trouble getting through in Chronicles and Kings. There is a great deal of detail associated with each of these bullet points. See the literature cited below. All right, I need to get into more specifics, okay? And we need to talk specifically about Ezra 4, not as it's related to Ezra 7, because we haven't even gotten to Ezra 7 yet. And there's an Ezra before Ezra 7, and there's the Artaxerxes before Ezra 7. I doubt we'll find much in this article because, in this thread, because the question is, Ezra 4:8, memoed Aramaic script with correspondence with Artaxerxes and Darius record and the Trans-Euphrates. Yeah, okay. Come on, man. This makes absolutely no sense. Unless they're talking about the city, as I was thinking earlier. But why is it located in chapter 4? I mean, I know we've had with Moses messing up orderings of things and whatnot. So, because he constantly repeated himself. In the reign of Ahasuerus, in the beginning of his reign, they wrote an accusation against the inhabitants of Judah and Jerusalem. When is Ahasuerus? Is this guy a dinosaur or what? That's so small. Esther, so was this all after Esther? Cyrus is after Esther? But Cyrus should be 4, right? Because Ahasuerus was preventing all this from happening, and Cyrus is the one that said, hey, build a temple. So, Cyrus the Great becomes king of Persia. Cyrus defeats King Croesus of Lydia. Cyrus takes Babylon, becomes master of Mesopotamian. Cyrus dies in battle. Persian troops led by Cambyses conquers Egypt. Darius I seizes power. I need in relation to the temple. Jerusalem. Okay, this is interesting. Jerusalem restored is over here in the reign of Artaxerxes. Temple restored is here. Boom. Mission solved. Okay. Mission solved. Okay. So it is. Whoever compiled this, if this is accurate, they're messed up the ordering. Because they messed up the ordering, they messed up the subheadings in the text. This should not be chapter 4. This should be later on, if this is accurate. What I'm seeing on screen right here. If this is accurate, and it makes sense with the way things are worded, right? When they're with the letter to Artaxerxes, they're only talking about the city. They didn't mention the temple, even though this heading is talking about the temple and it's in the midst of temple restoration. So this resistance to building the temple, that whole chapter 4 section with the letter to Artaxerxes and all that stuff, that according to this, which makes sense, is not about the temple at all. It's about the city. And they never mention the temple in the letter. They're all talking about the city. And that, if this is true, that makes sense. If the temple was restored in 435, in the reign of Artaxerxes, and the temple restored in 515 in the reign of Darius, that makes sense to me. Okay, let's keep reading. If they mention the temple restoration in chapter 7 or so, and we can sort of come to a conclusion. And then probably we could look into a more reputable source for. But seems like according to that thread, even historians don't know the exact timelines of these kings, right? But if we can get the ordering and some rough dates, we can, I think we can come to a decent conclusion. In the meantime, let's just keep on reading.
To be made in the king's treasure house, which is there in Babylon, whether it is so, that a decree was issued by King Cyrus to build this house of God at Jerusalem, and let the king send us his pleasure concerning this matter.
All right. Chapter 6.
Then King Darius issued a decree, and a search was made in the archives, where the treasures were stored in Babylon. And at Achmitha, in the palace that is in the province of Media, a scroll was found. And in it a record was written thus.
That's cool.
In the first year of King Cyrus, King Cyrus issued a decree concerning the house of God at Jerusalem.
Let the house be rebuilt, the place where they offered sacrifices, and let the foundations of it be firmly laid. Its height 60 cubits, and its width 60 cubits, with 3 rows of heavy stones and 1 row of new timber. Let the expenses be paid from the king's treasury. Also let the gold and silver articles of the house of God, which Nebuchadnezzar took from the temple which is in Jerusalem and brought to Babylon, be restored and taken back to the temple which is in Jerusalem, each to its place, and deposit them in the house of God.
Now therefore, Tatnai, governor of the region beyond the river, and Shethar-Boznai, and your companions the Persians, who are beyond the river, keep yourselves far from there. Let the work of this house of God alone. Let the governor of the Jews and the elders of the Jews build this house of God on its site. Moreover, I issue a decree as to what you shall do for the elders of these Jews, for the building of this house of God. Let the cost be paid at the king's expense from taxes on the region beyond the river. This is to be given immediately to these men, so that they are not hindered. And whatever they need, young bulls, rams, and lambs for the burnt offerings of the God of heaven, wheat, salt, wine, and oil, according to the request of the priests who are in Jerusalem,
Okay,
let it be
there
given
is.
them day
Let's go.
by day without fail, that they may offer sacrifices of sweet aroma to the God of heaven, and pray for the life.
That is interesting. That phrase, sacrifices a sweet aroma, because that's exactly the phrase used in Leviticus. That's interesting.
Of the king and his sons. Also, I issue a decree that whoever alters this edict, let a timber be pulled from his house and erected, and let him be hanged on it. And let his house be made a refuse heap because of this. And may the God who causes his name to dwell there destroy any king or people who put their hand to alter it, or to destroy this house of God, which is in Jerusalem. I, Darius, issue a decree. Let it be done diligently.
Then
rhyming.
Tatnai, governor of the region beyond the river, Shethar-Boznai and their companions diligently did according to what King Darius had sent. So the elders of the Jews built, and they prospered through the prophesying of Haggai the prophet and Zechariah the son of Iddo. And they built and finished it, according to the commandment of the God of Israel, and according to the command of Cyrus, Darius, and Artaxerxes, king of Persia.
They finished building it according to the command of Cyrus, Darius, and Artaxerxes, king of Persia. So, Artaxerxes commanded for the temple to be built. Yet in chapter 4, it's saying that he stopped the temple from being built. That's feeding into my idea that Artaxerxes, that chapter 4 should have been put down the line more. Not chapter 4, probably after chapter 7 or something. I don't know. We're going to find out as we keep reading. But they're talking about the city of Jerusalem, not the temple. I mean, we'll figure that out. But that's feeding into that idea.
Now the temple was finished on the 3rd day of the month of Adar, which was in the 6th year of the reign of King Darius.
Time out. Cyrus and Darius and Artaxerxes, king of Persia. I thought it was completed way before Artaxerxes, king of Persia. What? Artaxerxes the first. Temple construction begins. Temple completed. Artaxerxes becomes king of Persia. So how and they built and finished it according to the commandment of God, the God of Israel, and according to the command of Cyrus, Darius, and Artaxerxes, king of Persia. So they took 3 kings to build this thing. Cyrus, Darius, Artaxerxes. Cyrus, Darius, Artaxerxes. Temple restored in 515. Makes no sense. Darius. If it was restored in Darius, what's Artaxerxes have to do with anything? Okay, let me see if this Bible's got to say anything about this. 14. 6:14. And they prospered. God blessed the people because they listened to the prophets and the preaching of the word of God. Artaxerxes, 464 to 424 BC, did assist the rebuilding of the temple, although it was completed years before Artaxerxes came to power. Artaxerxes contributed to the welfare of the temple by issuing a decree regarding its maintenance, which we will see in chapter 7. Okay. So, but it says king of Persia. By command of Cyrus, Darius, and Artaxerxes, king of Persia. Or are they just referring to them as king of Persia because they were kings of Persia, and this was written much after the fact? So Artaxerxes had been king, and so they refer to him as king, like they're referring to Cyrus and Darius, and like we refer to all our past presidents as President so-and-so, even though they're not president anymore. That could be the case. Rings of Power. Adar.
And they built and finished it, according to the commandment of the God of Israel, and according to the command of Cyrus, Darius, and Artaxerxes, king of Persia. Now the temple was finished on the 3rd day of the month of Adar, which was in the 6th year of the reign of King Darius. Then the children of Israel, the priests and the Levites, and the rest of the descendants of the captivity, celebrated the dedication of this house of God with joy. And they offered sacrifices at the dedication of this house of God, 100 bulls, 200 rams, 400 lambs, and as a sin offering for all Israel, 12 male goats, according to the number of the tribes of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
They assigned the priests to their divisions and the Levites to their divisions over the service of God in Jerusalem, as it is written in the book of Moses.
Yep.
And the descendants of the captivity kept the Passover on the 14th day of the 1st month. For the priests and the Levites had purified themselves.
So they
All
didn't
of
need to
them
delay
were
it
ritually
like they
clean.
did last time.
And they slaughtered the Passover lambs for all the descendants of the captivity, for their brethren the priests, and for themselves. Then the children of Israel who had returned from the captivity ate together with all who had separated themselves from the filth of the nations of the land, in order to seek the Lord God of Israel. And they kept the feast of unleavened bread 7 days with joy, for the Lord made them joyful, and turned the heart of the king of Assyria toward them, to strengthen their hands in the work of the house of God, the God of Israel.
Chapter 7, chapter 9, we want chapter 7.
Now after these things, in the reign of Artaxerxes, king of Persia, Ezra, the son of Seraiah, the son of Azariah, the son of Hilkiah.
So after all the things we just saw,
the son of Shallum, the son of Zadok, the son of Ahitub, the son of Amariah, the son of Azariah, the son of Miraioth, the son of Zerahiah, the son of Azai, the son of Buckai, the son of Abishua, the son of Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the chief priest.
So Ezra is a Levite, descendant of Aaron.
And he was a skilled scribe in the law of Moses, which the Lord God of Israel had given. The king granted him all his requests, according to the hand of the Lord his God upon him. Some of the children of Israel, the priests, the Levites, the singers, the gatekeepers, and the Nethinim, came up to Jerusalem in the 7th year of King Artaxerxes. And Ezra came to Jerusalem in the 5th month, which was in the 7th year of the king. On the 1st day of the 1st month, he began his journey from Babylon. And on the 1st day of the 5th month, he came to Jerusalem, according to the good hand of his God upon him. For Ezra had prepared his heart to seek the law of the Lord, and to do it, and to teach statutes and ordinances in Israel.
Okay, that's good.
This is a copy of the letter that King Artaxerxes gave Ezra the priest, the scribe, expert in the words of the commandments of the Lord and of his statutes to Israel.
Pause it 1 second. What did it say? It said, Artaxerxes did assist the building of the temple, although it was completed years before Artaxerxes came to power. So, the temple should be built by now. Artaxerxes contributed to the welfare of the temple by issuing a decree regarding its maintenance. 7:15 to 21. Okay, so keep that out. 7:15 to 21. When we get to 15, we'll see.
And of his statutes to Israel.
Artaxerxes, king of kings, to Ezra the priest, a scribe of the law of God of heaven, perfect peace, and so forth. I issue a decree that all those of the people of Israel and the priests and Levites in my realm who volunteer to go up to Jerusalem may go with you. And whereas you are being sent by the king and his 7 counselors to inquire concerning Judah and Jerusalem with regard to the law of your God which is in your hand, and whereas you are to carry the silver and gold which the king and his counselors have freely offered to the God of Israel, whose dwelling is in Jerusalem, and whereas all the silver and gold that you may find in all the province of Babylon, along with the freewill offering of the people and the priests, are to be freely offered for the house of their God in Jerusalem.
Okay, so this Artaxerxes seems to be pro-temple. So why would he stop the temple in chapter 4? That can't be the same Artaxerxes.
Now, therefore, be careful to buy with this money
he had a change of heart,
bulls,
and it's
rams,
the same
and
Artaxerxes.
lambs with their grain offerings and their drink offerings, and offer them on the altar of the house of your God in Jerusalem. And whatever seems good to you and your brethren to do with the rest of the silver and the gold, do it according to the will of your God. Also, the articles that are given to you for the service of the house of your God deliver in full before the God of Jerusalem.
Lighting is so bad.
And whatever more may be needed for the house of your God, which you may have occasion to provide, pay for it from the king's treasury. And I, even I, Artaxerxes, the king, issue a decree to all the treasurers who are in the region beyond the river, that whatever Ezra the priest, the scribe of the law of the God of heaven, may require of you, let it be done diligently.
Wow,
Up to 100 talents of silver, 100 cores of wheat, 100 baths of wine, 100 baths of oil, and salt without prescribed limit. Whatever is commanded by the God of heaven, let it diligently be done for the house of the God of heaven. For why should there be wrath against the realm of the king and his sons? Also we inform you that it shall not be lawful to impose tax, tribute, or custom on any of the priests, Levites, singers, gatekeepers, Nethinim, or servants of this house of God. And you, Ezra, according to your God-given wisdom, set magistrates and judges who may judge all the people who are in the region beyond.
So this is all part of the maintenance
all
of the temple.
All such as know the laws of your God, and teach those who do not know them.
I want to go back to chapter 15.
Whoever will not observe the law of your God and the law of the king, let judgment be executed speedily on him, whether it be death, or banishment, or confiscation of goods, or imprisonment.
Blessed be the Lord God of our fathers, who has put such a thing as this in the king's heart, to beautify the house of the Lord, which is in Jerusalem, and has extended mercy to me before the king and his counselors, and before all the king's mighty princes. So I was encouraged, as the hand of the Lord my God was upon me, and I gathered leading men of Israel to go up with me.
I'll just start up here. I issue a decree that all those of the people of Israel and the priests and Levites in my realm who volunteered to go up to Jerusalem may go with you. And wherever you are being sent by the king and his 7 counselors to inquire concerning Judah and Jerusalem with regard to the law of your God which is in your hand, and whereas you are to carry the silver and gold which the king and his counselors have freely offered to the God of Israel, whose dwelling is in Jerusalem. So the dwelling is in Jerusalem. So that means the temple is there. And whereas all the silver and gold that you may find in all the province of Babylon, along with the free will offering of the people and the priests are to be freely offered for the house of their God in Jerusalem. Okay. I want to know which Darius though. The temple is completed in Darius, right? Okay, so the temple is completed in Darius. Let's keep on going. I mean, we just finished 7, didn't we? We did. So nothing about the city. So maybe we'll find out tomorrow, hopefully. Let me see. Chapter 7. Ezra's arrival. What is this guy Ezra going to do? Chapter 7, chapter 8. Servants for the temple. Gifts for the temple. Intermarriage with pagans. Oh no, come on. And then Ezra's done. Then we jump into Nehemiah. When are we getting to the building of the temple? Rebuilding the wall. Okay, so in Nehemiah, looks like the building is progressing further. So this is making absolutely no sense. Absolutely no sense. How much battery do I have? All right, we're good. So in the 2nd year of Darius is when the temple was finished. Was there... No, the... Okay, let's look this up. Kings of Persia. All that weird search I did. The Persian kings in Bible chronology. This might help. Cyrus the Great. Okay. Darius, who ruled 36 years, and the temple was completed in his 6th year. After him, Xerxes the Great ruled 21 years, and Esther and Mordecai were said to have featured in his reign. Then came Artaxerxes the first, who ruled 41 years. In his 7th year, Ezra, they say, came onto the scene. Yeah, man, what's up with Ezra coming fashionably late? What is this guy going to do? And in his 20th year, Nehemiah. After him came Darius II and Artaxerxes II, whose reign covered a confused period totaling 66 years. And after them, you get Artaxerxes III, who ruled 20 years, and Darius III, who ruled for 6 years and was defeated by Alexander the Great. Nobody is touching my question. Cyrus, whom the Greeks call Artaxerxes. But Cyrus was not opposed to the temple. He started it off. The message to Daniel certainly does. Let me make this bigger. The message to Daniel certainly does not tally with multiplicity of Persian kings presented to us by the history books. There must have been some fundamental errors. Possibly they were name-related duplications in the original Hebrew text. We find only the following: Artaxerxes, translated Artaxerxes, and is said by Strong's to be a title, not a name. Okay, so this might help us. Akashrash, translated Ahasuerus, the dinosaur king, also a title, not a name. Kauresh, translated Cyrus, a name, not a title. And Dariavesh, translated Darius, a title, not a name. All the Persian kings could have been called by either of those titles in addition to their names. Josephus wrote about Ahasuerus as Cyrus, whom the Greeks call Artaxerxes. What? Investigation will show that in the Bible, the term Artaxerxes was only applied to Cyrus, Cambyses, and Darius. Cambyses, boom. Cambyses. Cyrus Cambyses, who halted the temple. That is what this person said. Where is that guy? The one guy. Here. Cambyses did not hinder the work. So Cambyses was Ahasuerus and Gomates was Artaxerxes. Where is it? It's not even in here. What? Where was I? Was only applied to Cyrus, Cambyses, and Darius, and that there is no Xerxes. Only 3 Darius are mentioned, namely the Mede, the Great, and the Last. So who were the kings of Daniel 11:2? They were Cyrus, after whom 3 would follow. First, Artaxerxes, whom the history books call Cambyses. Second, Darius, Second Darius, also called Artaxerxes, and whom history books call the Great. Then third Artaxerxes, whom history books call Xerxes the Great. Then 4, the last Darius, who was defeated by Alexander. Let's add up the time span, 81 years. We are now obviously near the biblical mark. Cyrus, after whom 3 would follow. First, Artaxerxes, whom the history books called Cambyses. Cambyses was first Artaxerxes. But this guy's saying Cambyses was Ahasuerus, who did not hinder the work of the temple. Okay, so that sort of aligns. But what about this? Who's this guy? Let's see what this... Why I study this period? Because I'm confused. That's why. Ahasuerus, Darius. See, conveniently skip Ezra 4, huh? Convenient. Okay, no, here, Darius. Rebuilding of the temple recommenced. Okay, but who paused it? Who paused it? See, this is what makes absolutely no sense. Let's go back to Ezra 4. And the days of Artaxerxes, also Bishlam, Mithridath, Tabel, and the rest of their companions wrote to Artaxerxes, king of Persia, while he was king of Persia. And the letter was written in Aramaic script and translated into the Aramaic language, saying, blah, 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 ended up being, let them not build this evil city, right? So it looks like they're talking about the city, not the temple. So this could be after the temple was built, but then why include it in chapter 4? And if it is not, who is this King Artaxerxes? Because it's not Artaxerxes the first that we're seeing in chapter 7, because the temple's already built, if this is talking about the temple. Right? This is making absolutely no sense to me. This timeline is all mixed up. All the Persian kings could have been called by either of those titles in addition. Okay, we read that. Yo, come on. Where was the little thing I had opened? What? Okay, here. 50,000 Artaxerxes, or is this the same Artaxerxes? Probably the same Artaxerxes. Yeah, okay. What am I thinking? But this doesn't make any sense. Okay. Kings of Babylon. All right. We don't need that right now. Persian kings. Cyrus. He's the guy who said, let's build this thing. Cambyses. Some people are saying Darius. Cyrus II the Great. Okay, so Cyrus II, Cyrus the Great, that's the guy who said, let's build a temple. So that means Cambyses II. Gomates. Okay, how does this work here? What does this mean to me? What is this? Gomates Pseudo-Smerdis. He reigned for 7 months. What does Pseudo-Smerdis mean? I'm guessing some type of like alternate name. Pseudo. Smerdi. How do you pronounce this? And the large Pseudo-Smerdis. What? What does this mean? What does this mean? Smerdis was the younger son of Cyrus the Great, according to Ctesias. On his deathbed, appointed him governor of the eastern provinces. So the younger son of Cyrus the Great, overthrown by Darius. So the younger son, the spoiled kid who wanted to stop the temple from being built, rebelling against his father, and then was overthrown by Darius, who said, let's go continue with the temple, because he went back and looked and saw that King Cyrus actually wanted the temple being built. Okay. Dots are being connected. The Persian ruler who caused the building of Jehovah's temple at Jerusalem to be stopped between the reign of Cyrus the Great, who allowed the Jews to return to Jerusalem, and Darius the Great, who in 520 BCE removed the ban imposed on the temple construction. Possibly 3 kings ruled: Cambyses II, his brother Bardia, or possibly a Magian known as Gautama. Isn't that an anime? Who is... Oh, that's Gintama is the anime. Who is said to have pretended to be Bardia and ruled for 7 months. And Nidintu Bel, who was defeated and killed by Darius after just 2 months. Cambyses is evidently represented by the Ahasuerus, the dinosaur king, mentioned at Ezra 4:6, to whom the first protest was made by the opposers of the temple reconstruction. Therefore, beginning with Ezra 4:7, the ruler referred to as Artaxerxes is either Bardia or Gaumata, whose rule lasted but 7 months. Okay, so we're coming to a conclusion. I'm not going to say we're coming to a conclusion, but we are connecting the dots, and we can't come to a conclusion because there's not enough information, right? There's not enough data to go off of. The people of the cities of Samaria wrote a letter against the Jews to this Persian king. Right. So, okay. We're going on an hour and 18 minutes. So, I'm going to put all this stuff in the description so you guys can take a look at it. I feel like this is the closest we're going to come unless we do some hardcore research on our own, right? This is the closest we're going to come to for right now. And we might, I feel like if we do further research, we'd probably, we could probably come to a conclusion, but there's also a good chance that we just develop a clearer picture of what this is showing, right? Instead of narrowing it down onto one particular individual, it might be like, okay, so we know for certain that it could be this, could be this, could be this, could be this. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. Smerdis, imposter, Bardia, or Gaumata? So, between the reigns of Cyrus the Great, who allowed the Jews to return to Jerusalem, and of Darius the Great, who in 520 BCE removed the ban imposed on the temple construction, possibly 3 kings ruled. Cambyses II, his brother Bardia, or possibly a Magian known as Gaumata, who is said to have pretended to be Bardia and ruled for 7 months, and Nidintu Bel, who was defeated and killed by Darius after just 2 months. Cambyses is evidently represented by the Ahasuerus mentioned at Ezra 4:6, to whom the first protest was made by the opposers of the temple reconstruction. Why do we know this? Why is this evidently represented by Ahasuerus? How do we know? Therefore, beginning with Ezra 4. So because Cambyses is evidently represented by Ahasuerus, they're drawing the conclusion that it could be the rest. Process of elimination. If it's not this guy, there's 3 choices. It could be either these 2. Let's go back and look at 4:6 again. In the reign of Ahasuerus, the dinosaur king, and the beginning of his reign, they wrote an accusation against the inhabitants of Judah and Jerusalem. Let's look at the timeline. Cyrus, that guy's son would be his, right? His son. Cambyses, right? What was that? Where did we see that? Where it said Cambyses was his son? Where did I see that? Cambyses was the eldest son of Cyrus the Great. But one thing we saw was he was the youngest son. But there's so much of the same name, right? Cyrus' younger son, Bardia. Cambyses the second. Right? So... Cyrus' younger son, Bardia, was given his own realm in Central Asia. Cambyses was appointed by his father as governor of the northern part of Babylon. All right, so what there's... Yeah, okay, let's just keep it simple. The king... Chapter 4 is probably Cambyses, Bardia, or Gaumata. Okay? That's the farthest I'm going. We're on an hour and 23 minutes. But Artaxerxes, right? We read that that's a title. It's not the name of a king, which makes sense because Artaxerxes the first was ruled after the temple was completed, right? So I'm thinking that's it. So man, this timeline is like holy. Just because this guy ruled for only 7 months, it's hard to find this stuff. So yeah, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section because there's a lot of information. So your insight would be man, it's dark. Your insight would be appreciated. So yeah, let me know down in the comment section what you guys think about all this. Yeah, I'll definitely be reading that, and I'm gonna put all this stuff in the description for you guys to check out, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for Ezra chapter 8. All right. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye bye.